Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the mighty Gluestick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of hundreds of monster ecology and strategy videos on my channel, including a complete A to Z list of all the monsters in the monster manual for 5th edition. If you like what I do, please consider subscribing as I upload at least twice a week. This week, we're going to delve deep into the lore of Juiblex, the Faceless Lord, Demon Lord of Slimes and Oozes, King of the Shapeless Ones, more commonly known as Juiblex. Unlike most other demon lords, Juiblex doesn't really give a damn about the multiverse or his role in its destruction and transformation. He wants no part in the raging conflict of the eternal blood war, wants little to do with the endless grudge matches and pointless squabbles between the greater powers of the abyss. He despises himself almost as much as he hates everything else in the multiverse, much preferring to surround himself with the unthinking forms of the oozes and slimes, puddings, molds and jellies that are his vassals. First appearing in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual in 1977, we learned that Juiblex ruled his own layer of the abyss, an endless sea of oozes, molds, slimes and puddings feeding off each other's foul excretions. This was numbered the 528th layer of the abyss so far discovered and charted. Within this plane, forming what is regarded as the center, was the most massive pile of horrific garbage in the multiverse, forming the palace of the Demon Lord, detailed in the adventure module called the Throne of the Bloodstone. As a major Demon Lord, Juiblex has attracted cultists and religious followers, so he's showed up again in the book published in 1992 called Monster Mythology, an excellent volume, well worth the read. In this we learn that Juiblex can summon an avatar of the Demon Lord using a gate spell, the cultists can, and that Juiblex never sends omens, and most of his followers are mad, usually human cultists, but also many aboleth have the strange belief that Juiblex is responsible for maintaining the integrity of their moist skins and the environment in which they dwell. Also, most importantly, they think Juiblex holds the secret to lost arcane magic that he will one day reveal to them. This is quite wildly contradictory to what we generally know about the aboleth, so something from the lore you can throw at your players who think they have a pretty good read on aboleth motivations. They are alien horrors. They are weird and creepy and difficult, if not impossible, to fully predict, so sure, why not? The avatar is fairly nasty, resistant to cold and fire, poison, gas and lightning, immune to acid and water-based attacks, appears as a huge pool or large blob or an 18-foot tall pillar of something really disgusting, covered in thick mucus, dripping with foul brown, green, yellow and grey slime and caustic secretions, with all these red glaring eyes that pop up along its surface like bubbles, moving around constantly. It casts lots of spells, summons squads of black puddings and spews out great gouts of ochre jelly and green slime in combination. If this avatar is active anywhere on your campaign world, there will absolutely be mass outbreaks of contagion and disease, mind-controlled people who infiltrate and further spread diseases, and just a general blighting of all life for miles in every direction. Juiblex again appeared as a Demon Lord, this time in 2002 in the Book of Vile Darkness. There is a great adventure in Dungeon Magazine number 132, in which was published the same year as the first Fiendish Codex, the Horde of the Abyss, updating a lot of Demon Lords and detailing a lot of old and new abyssal layers. In this adventure, designed to be dropped into any setting and geared towards 4 characters at 8th level, there was a sort of a Shadow over Innsmouth vibe going on, with the townsfolk acting very shifty and something horrible locked away in the town hall. The town jail. The Thorpe of Verdinica holds a very dark, moist and smelly secret, so it's both a rural adventure and a dungeon crawl. In this case, an eccentric cleric of Obed High named Morbian, who became rather too obsessed with slimes, fungi and oozes, and went on an ill-fated exploration into the nearby Sickstone Caves, home of the unique olive slime which transforms other creatures into slime hybrids, and an ancient shrine to the Demon Lord. Of course, Morbian, already fairly delusional, becoming transformed, fully crazed devotee of Juiblex, and waged a war on the slaves of Shape who lived nearby. It's a well-crafted adventure where the players arrive in a location where things have been going on for some time, and their arrival is the catalyst that tips it all over into the boiling point, an all-out combat with a well-established monstrous cult. So that was Dungeon Magazine number 132. Dungeon magazine was also the location of an update of Juiblex for 4th edition. This was issue 188. Now, in 5th edition, he is among the many demon lords involved in the Out of the Abyss adventure sourcebook, and he is described in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Oozes are iconic to Dungeons & Dragons. No dungeon crawl feels complete without at least one encounter with a member of the ooze category. Perhaps a trap with some green slime, a wandering gelatinous cube, a random pudding or jelly showing up. The category has a ton of inclusions throughout the years, with every sort of subclass being thrown into the mix, from demon blood to elemental substance, parasites and invaders, mindless hazards to highly intelligent potent bosses, monsters such as the Oblex. There is literally an ooze for every occasion. Originally, there was only 5: the green slime, the ochre jelly, the black pudding, the grey ooze, and the gelatinous cube. Then with the publishing of the Strategic Review, the precursor to Dragon magazine, we got the slithering tracker, and with the second monster manual, we got the crystal ooze, the brown dun and white puddings, the mustard jelly, the olive slime, and the slime hybrids, and on it went, each new edition introducing more and more. It was actually the tongue-in-cheek slapstick Castle Greyhawk adventure published in 1988, where we were told that his home layer was the 528th layer of the Abyss, but it was the Throne of the Bloodstone where players got a really intense multiverse-exploring adventure. This was the 4th in a series of adventures which make up the Bloodstone Pass campaign, and in the last one you get to play a 100th level character. So say what you want about AD&D, they were never shy of throwing some really mind-blowing stuff at you. I think I'll have to make another video about that topic in particular, and the Bloodstone Pass adventure arc, because it was really the game designers and writers talking about the concept of a very high-level character becoming a ruler of the land they inhabited. The realm of Juiblex is mapped out in that volume as a vast swamp with a conduit connecting it to other planes of the Abyss, and a hard trek through the worst kind of foul nightmare swamp to get to the palace, which is the epicenter of the stench of the noxious plane. Along the way, there are chance encounters with giant oblivaxes, which steal memories, giant gelatinous cubes, green slime colonies, and random appearances of Baraglura demons. The area around the garbage heap palace is full of Manes, Baragluras, Hezrau, and Nalfeshni demons, all fighting each other, but only too happy to attack any player characters who show up. Juiblex has no interest in any mortal creatures, anything they have to say or offer, and attacks them immediately if they enter his palace. He teleports away if things seems to be going against him and he may lose, and the characters can search his lair to find rings of plant control, an alchemy jug, a amulet of life protection, a bag of transmuting, a chime of hunger, a periapt of foul rotting, pipes of the sewers, a scarab of insanity, and a talisman of ultimate evil. Actually, the amulet and chime are used by Juiblex in combat, so he's probably wearing them, so perhaps those escape with him. In the series of books and supplements of the Planescape setting, Juiblex was updated, and now we learn that his realm has either merged or changed to the 222nd layer of the Abyss, or perhaps the catalogue and ordering of the abyssal layers has changed, who knows. Anyway, as of 1994 in the Planes of Chaos book, Juiblex's home, the Slime Pits, was established, and this was also the layer assigned to Zugtmoy in the Temple of Elemental Evil, published in 1985. So this created a whole new plotline of conflict between these two demon lords, which has slowly been building up over the decades. So now, let me switch over to the information presented in the Demonomicon of Igwilv, just as I did for Zugtmoy, and we will learn all about Juiblex and his activities, motivations, and his cultists. And I quote, "Undoubtedly, few denizens of the Abyss equal in the horror they evoke in their hideous forms, the corrupt majesty of the Faceless Lord, in the gloom that enshrouds his realm. He holds court over glistening masses, the twitching oozes he sires. Juiblex is deemed a lesser figure in abyssal hierarchy, judged lord of nothing by his peers. However, in my research I have plumbed the foul mire to examine the full darkness that is this disturbing fiend. Juiblex is a power defined by incremental advances, a being whose wickedness flows slowly but inexorably toward an unspeakable end, which troubles even this writer. The horrors of the Abyss, disgorges, are without number, and no limit restricts the disquieting forms that its spawn, demons, can take. Easily the most disgusting master to claim dominion over the tainted host is the creature known as Juiblex, he who slithers, the unnameable one, glistener, indescribable darkness, the slick of foulest humours. Juiblex is a dark stain on the abyss, a horrid monster whose shape and aura are repulsive, and whose mind conforms to no expectation. The formless one is hideous even to his peers, who dismiss him as master of nothing. Behind their jeering mockery and callous dismissal is genuine fear. Juiblex is inscrutable, strange, alien, even by demonic standards. Juiblex's greatest strength lies in how easily others misjudge his power. Nearly all demonologists rank him among the least of the demon lords. He's a minor figure who, if discussed at all, is considered a footnote, a nemesis to his arch-rival the bloated Zugmoy, Queen of Rot. Juiblex has yet to turn his ponderous gaze in any significant way towards the mortal world. He has never emerged from the slime pits of Shedakla to wage war against his enemies, and has, to all outward appearances, remained content to fester in his own filthy domain. A few demon lords have come close to ferreting out the truth about Juiblex. Dagon and Pazuzu suspect the Faceless Lord was once a powerful Oberonth, whom Tharizdun shattered during the tumult surrounding the formation of the Abyss. Since this fall, Dagon and Pazuzu believe, Juiblex has ceded more and more of his influence until he now teeters on dissolution's brink. Both demon lords are right in thinking Juiblex is ancient, yet they are as mistaken in supposing he is a fallen Oberonth as they are wrong about his decline. The Faceless Lord was the infection of the elemental chaos's wound, a mass of fluid and solids stirred into awareness when Tharizdun lodged the seed of evil into the anthropic realm. Juiblex welled up like black blood, a festering mass, screeching and roaring with the obscene knowledge rushing into his mind. When the Oberonths tumbled out of their dying world, Juiblex retreated, slithering away from the imminent conflict between Mad God and fiendish invaders to come to grips with his new existence and grander purpose. For the long age of devastation wrought by the Dark God's crusade against Oberonth forces, Juiblex dripped into the open sore that was becoming the Abyss, stirring to consciousness the very elements, spawning new breeds of jelly, slippery, glistening horrors wherever he crawled. Deeper and deeper flowed Juiblex until he pooled in the tangled depths where he would reflect without disturbance on his dread home and his place in it. Unspeakable knowledge of Juiblex witnessed the formation of the Abyss. He saw the Oberonths emerge from the nether realm to pollute the elemental chaos, and beheld the final struggle between Tharizdun and those most ancient of demons. Juiblex knows the true name of each Oberonth. He has an intuitive understanding of each one's ambitions. This knowledge makes Juiblex one of the few who comprehends the true purpose of the Abyss. Other demon lords have lost respect and even less use for the Faceless Lord. His shape is unfixated, his aspect is hideous, and his nature reflects the corruption responsible for the creation of the Abyss. His loathsome appearance aside, Juiblex contributes nothing to the struggles in and for the Abyss, making efforts neither during the Dawn War nor throughout the ancient ascendancy of the Queen of Chaos, not even during the Blood War's earliest clashes when Asmodeus fell from grace and claimed a sliver of the Shard of Evil. Did he who slithers show himself? Nope, he just stayed behind. Juiblex makes no alliances and fights no wars. Envoys travel to his blighted realm and are never seen again. He is in no way protests Zugmoy's greed as she sinks her fungoid feelers deeper into the abyssal layer they share. Only the slimes and oozes that populate his realm truly interest the fetid prince. They quiver with something akin to pleasure when the Faceless Lord is near, writhing whenever he passes. Juiblex might be a demon lord, but what he claims as his dominion is nothing anyone else would ever want. With scorn comes lack of attention. To other Lords of the Abyss, quivering Juiblex's meagre holding is not worth the effort. Zugmoy's realm hides and shields Juiblex's, and the Lady of Decay cannot be moved to drive off her rival. This out-of-sight, out-of-mind state is exactly what Juiblex requires. It allows him to act with impunity, without fearing reprisals or aggression from his notorious peers. Juiblex is the raw essence of the elemental chaos, with which the seed of evil awakened to obscene malevolence. He is a subtle foe, a careful and scheming monster whose vast intelligence proves able to reach beyond distant objectives by manipulating the bodies and dim minds of his countless servants. His thralls are slimes and puddings, jellies and gelatinous masses, all populating the darkest regions of the plains. Juiblex needs only to focus his power, and these thralls obey his every command. With Juiblex's servants already found in every corner of existence they can possibly inhabit, One might just wonder why the Glistener has yet to rouse his army to seize the world. In truth, he has more servants than he can command. He cannot divide his attention directly at all of them at once, at least not yet. He waits patiently, accumulating his power and breeding new horrors for the day when he can claim what he believes to be his due. When he does, the cosmos is doomed to drown in his putrescence. The Faceless Lord is an apt moniker for Juiblex. He has no set form, and he drifts between different shapes and sizes with ease. He might stretch himself out in filthy bubbling pools, or gather himself into a swaying tower, only to crash down with a great splash into a vile mound, dimpling the thin, oily epidermis containing his vile fluids are red, winking eyes. When opened, they weep sludgy black tears that dry in a crust across his heaving body. Juiblex's hide is an unhealthy mixture of hues, browns, greens, yellows, and greys, streaked with black. An endless variety of oozes and jellies, puddings, and such wretched demons populate the tunnels leading to the gloomy chamber where Juiblex calls his home. Enemies that venture into these corridors must face such horrors in numbers beyond counting and without relent. The oozes fight with strange cunning and persistence when that can shock the unprepared, who are used to them being unintelligent foes. Juiblex directs his underlings with a chessmaster's skill, and if a powerful foe breaches these defences, or he or she finds the Demon Lord in his noxious lair, a vast slimy chamber, the room's walls slick with Juiblex's ghastly hosts, spewing their corruption to mingle in with the Glistener's exudations. Juiblex's first act seems to be to pour forth a flowing mass or an enormous slick until he gathers himself into a cone-like pillar of sticky flesh and dripping fluids. For a moment, the slimy tower wavers and then it crashes down with avalanche force. Juiblex spreads his gooey body as far as he can, crushing all in his path. That done, he contracts again, rising up for another attack. Juiblex revels in pain and destruction. He snatches enemies from around him, dragging them horrified and screaming into his mass, opening reddish eyes to watch them as these unfortunates liquefy into nothing. Those who try to fly out or reach quickly learn their error as Juiblex squirts streams of blinding acid at his foes, rumbles with demonic mirth when they hurtle to the ground. He permits no escape from his sanctum. Anything in his sight is his. Aspects of Juiblex, unlike most Demon Lords, he employs no true aspect to deal with mortal subjects. Spending the energy to create such a servant is pointless to him. He doesn't care about petty squabbles. Given the rarity of his mortal cults and the mindlessness of his preferred servants, if he needs to commune with a sentient lackey, he imposes his will on an ooze near to the thrall and manipulates the ooze as if it were a puppet, speaking through it. Duplex cults keep powerful oozes as pets just for this purpose. While Juiblex possesses an ooze, the creature takes on Juiblex coloration and red eyes and bubbles and gurgles with his foul voice. Juiblex rarely recruits demon servitors. Instead, he depends on oozes to represent him wherever he wishes, because they're basically everywhere. He also presses into slavery demons that his oozes trap or consume, giving rise to intelligent demon oozes subject to his will, these hybrids. The greatest of these is Juiblex's favoured servant, the monstrosity known as the darkness-given hunger. The Shekala offers little to the abyssal traveller. It is a place slick with rot, its undulating hills speckled with all manner of deadly smut and rufts, puffballs and fungal forests and pools of poisonous slime. Its sky shudders and rumbles, full of brown clouds, swollen with corruption. Deadly horrors wait here, to be sure. But what I have revealed is only the surface, a colourful mould growing on the back of a rancid pile. It's within these stinking caverns underneath this decay that we find Juiblex and his slimy seas. Two demonic powers have staked claims on Shekala, the 222nd layer of the abyss, as we know. Zugdmoy, Queen of Fungi, commands the surface and shapes her domain to resemble her hideous form. The soil in which her creations hide covers the deep caverns and cavernous chambers that house the Faceless Lord and his armies. Zugdmoy might claim dominance here, mocking her rival for retreating into the earth, but it's telling that she's yet to find the courage to descend into this grotto and face him. She really is literally just lingering on the surface. Others have named Juiblex's kingdom the Slime Pits, and it's indeed made up of sinkholes in the plane's bowels, filled with all sorts of slimes and similar creatures. Lesser oozes, which are a threat only in great numbers to seasoned adventurers, coat the upper passages, and deeper into the reeking pits one travels, the more terrifying and cunning the oozes become, until no mistake can be made about their sentience and demonic nature and the fact that they are all sharing one vast mind. Those interested in the subject of this history suggest that Juiblex has been on the losing end of his contest with the Queen of Fungi. Why else would he consent to being imprisoned in his subsurface realm? Why else has he not responded to Zugmoy's boasting with his overwhelming forces? The truth might be that Juiblex is not even aware of the rival's crowing. His time is spent cultivating his stable and advancing his plans across the multiverse. Zugmoy can vomit all the filth she wishes at him. She will one day kneel or die, as will all others who stand against Juiblex when the time comes. Juiblex withdrew to Shekala not long after Tharizdun and the Obrit Thors called off their feud. He understood the power of the Abyss and drank deep from its fountain, bloating himself with power and knowledge while secluded from the other lords. As other demons rose and fell in their various contests, their petty squabbles, Juiblex husbanded his power, amassing his servants in a readiness for the day when he can rise up from the abyssal depths to spill into the cosmos in a massive destructive wave. Features and terrain of Juible's realm. It's basically chewed up stone and soil with deep chasms of Shekala with huge damp corridors. Every chasm serves as a breeding pit where oozes spawn in the endless cycle, the fecundity filling the pits with so many slimes of so many varieties that the sheer numbers create masses akin to underground lakes. The oldest, Superus, is nearly 100 miles across. The Faceless Lord does not visit these spawning pools himself. He doesn't need to. He seizes a lesser ooze and uses that servant to carry his awareness wherever he wishes in his fetid kingdom. His throne room stands at the kingdom's centre in a living, littered cavern littered with remains resistant to the caustic humours of the room's acidic inhabitants. He claims a stone pedestal in the centre where his excretions have corroded and streaked the rock has become like a crooked finger rising from a churning stew of oozes and other lackeys that have won the favour of the indescribable darkness, writhing and squirming in their despicable pleasure at his presence. Most demons shun the Faceless Lord and fear and are revolted, and that's exactly the attitude they have when Duplex is around, and that's exactly what Juiblex wants. Oozes and related creatures are most populous here, obviously. One can find slithering monsters such as ochre jellies and black puddings, green slimes and gelatinous cubes. In most cases, such creatures are bloated with demonic power, much larger than their natural world counterparts, and many times fiercer. Rare breeds also dwell here. Blood oozes, elemental oozes, bone collectors, and even terrifying primeval oozes lurk in the deepest depths. Elemental terrors churning and suppurating and spurting out magma and all sorts of energies. No larger gathering of Juiblex's population can be found anywhere, though they are not numerous. Other types of demons sometimes choose to reside here. The slime pits attract those who value anarchy and anonymity above all else. This is basically the backwater, the backwoods, the frontier, the border of Mexico that the demons flee past to hide out from anything else, any other place that they may be wanted and torn apart. Because Juiblex pays so little attention. His rows croak in the still gloom of the upper chambers while chasmes feast on the waste pools in the corridors. Pod demons gather in small colonies, herding oozes, while ruptured demons of all sizes hide here and there. The most wretched denizens are mortals who bound themselves into Juiblex's service for whatever mad reason. It takes a particularly depraved person to seek out the Faceless Sword, and most who do suffer terrible afflictions that lead to madness. Mortals looking for relief from misery can be lured into cults that offer prayers and sacrifices to the pestilential demon lord. Those who bind themselves into Juiblex might be drawn one day to Shadakla. Such broken souls slowly dissolve into their reborn as sentient oozes or gelatinous hybrids doomed to serve Juiblex forever. The slick of foulest humours has only a passing interest in humanoid creatures, though. He finds them too willful and timorous to be of much use. Without active recruitment to swell their ranks, the cultists form a small but devoted and insane society. Only the most crazed and desperate people worship him. These shattered few think that the glistener might ease their pain or burn their minds so that in insanity they can endure. So people who have suffered far too much, who just give over to madness and disease. Disease has touched all of Juiblex's non-ooze servants in some way. They might be covered in unsightly growths. Others could have unnatural blisters on their hands and face, or fingers and toes have been rotted away entirely. Brutes, skirmishers, soldiers, they're all different types gathering into service with Juiblex. He boons his gatherers with powers that help them overcome their foes with poison, acid, and vile plagues. For any servant of Juiblex considering that service, acid and poison resistance or immunity are typical boons. I've also got some listed at the end of this as well. There are also many appropriate diseases, such as blinding sickness, cackle fever, shakes, mind fire, and slimy doom. Servitors and victim may suffer any of these special modifications, such as the first is the awakened plague, where a creature carries a disease that has gained awareness and directs the creature to commit wicked acts, spreading its horror to others. Next is the Caustic Expulsion, where a creature has the ability and is bloated and groans with each step. As combat progresses, the creature becomes agitated and eventually spews forth a noxious spray, like basically just empties their insides. Then there is the Melting Embrace, where some creatures are so affected that their humours are akin to acid, and if they get a solid grip on an enemy, their fluids can dissolve flesh and bone. This trait is most useful for a creature that can attack with a grab attack or a grapple, but any creature can try and grab an enemy as a standard action. Next is Sickening Odor, where rot and sickness create such a potent stench it can be turned against enemies as an aura, like a troglodyte stink. Then there is the Slime Cysts, which are shuddering growths bulging on a creature's flesh, straining against the skin, waiting to be released in a nauseating flood, and that can be truly horrible to look at. These polluted by Juiblex learn to survive despite their deflections. They gain boons by focusing on their corruption and channeling it into something greater. Such boons can be transformative, leading to an even worse fate for the deranged servants, until they turn from a humanoid that they once were into some monstrous shambling horror. Such as a flowing form, where a creature is blessed with the ability to transform into something that can flow around and through its enemies. Such a creature moves in odd ways, as if their bones are made from jelly. And then there's Rotting Division. A creature that Juiblex has touched might suffer from a rotting affliction so that its body can fall to pieces at any time. If such a creature sustains significant damage, it basically just flies apart into a swarm of dismembered body parts, and until slain, the creature retains enough coherency to make effective attacks, even with its body parts spread all over the area and crawling around. If Juiblex actually manifests on the prime material plane, he is a vast entity, a lake of ooze, which spawns thousands of his minions to rot and consume everything around him for hundreds of miles. His lesser aspect is described in Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which is also pretty fearsome, rising up as a 20-foot tall hill, a mass of bubbling slime of swirling black and green, with glaring red eyes floating and shifting around within it. Within 1 mile of this entity's lair, small bodies of water such as ponds or wells turn highly acidic, corroding any object that touches them. Surfaces within 6 miles of the lair are frequently covered by a thin film of slime, which is slick and sticks to everything that touches it, and if a humanoid spends at least 1 hour within 1 mile of the lair, that creature must make a DC 18 Wisdom saving throw or descend into a madness, determined by the madness of Juiblex table. A creature that succeeds on the saving throw can't be affected by this regional effect again for 24 hours. Creatures who go mad within the lair, or within 1 mile of the lair, or within sight of Juiblex, roll on this random table. Such madness can manifest as a compulsive eating, refusing to part with any possession owned, compulsion to force others to binge to excess on food and drinks, obsessive greediness and hoarding and valuing their self-worth only in terms of how much they can consume, be it food, luxuries and so on, with no regard to the waste or damage to themselves, their relationship or the environment around them, including the suffering of others. So they're basically becoming extremely greedy and just compulsive eaters, or they force others to eat compulsively around them. Within the huge demon's lair, it can use any of the following effects once per round. So Juiblex can summon a green slime which appears on a spot on the ceiling that Juiblex chooses within the lair. The slime disintegrates after 1 hour. He can really manifest a green slime wherever he wants. Juiblex can slime a square 10 feet by 10 feet of ground it can see within the lair. The slime lasts for 1 hour until it's burned away with fire. There are 2 different versions of the slime. The first adheres to creatures so that it appears When it appears, each creature in the area must succeed on a DC 21 strength saving throw or become restrained. Those entering or attempting to leave that space must make the save as well. If the slime is set on fire, it burns away after one round. However, any creature that starts its turn in the burning slime takes 4d10 fire damage. The second version is very, very slick and greasy slime, again 10 by 10 feet, and any creature entering or leaving the area must succeed on a DC 21 dexterity saving throw or fall prone and slide 10 feet in a random direction determined by a d8 roll. Just number the 8 squares around the square the character's on. The number rolled is the direction they shoot off towards. This slime can also be destroyed by fire with the same effect of those caught in the space. The manifestation of Juiblex has an armor class of 18, 28 d12 plus 168, or between 180 and 504, with an average of 200, or is it 350 hit points? I think it's 350. So it's perfectly fine for you to decide to give it the maximum amount of hit points if you wish, or alter any of the other abilities of this Demon Lord's manifestation. Just saying, it's totally your ballpark. Juiblex speaks all languages, has 120-foot telepathy, is immune to poison, non-magical physical damage, has legendary resistance, able to choose to automatically succeed in up to 3 saving throws per day, is immune to blinding, charm, deafening, exhaustion, fear, being petrified, grappled, stunned, unconscious, restrained, or being knocked prone, takes half damage for cold, fire, and lightning. Any creature other than an ooze that starts its turn within 10 feet of Juiblex must make a DC 21 Constitution saving throw, or be poisoned until the start of the creature's next turn. Juiblex has advantage on all saving throws versus spells and magic effects. All weapons or object attacks made by him are considered magical. He gains 20 hit points at the start of each turn. If he takes fire or radiant damage, this trait doesn't function until the start of his next turn. Juiblex dies only if he starts on a turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate because he's taken fire or radiant damage. He can climb any surface, including upside down or on ceilings. He can cast spells like a sorcerer, DC 18 to save against them, plus 10 to hit with them. He can cast Acid Splash and detect magic at will, plus 3 times per day he can cast Blight, Contagion, and Gaseous Form. And he counts as basically a level 17 spellcaster. Juiblex can take 3 legendary actions on other creatures' turns during the round. These can include Acid Splash spells or an Acid Lash attack. His Acid Lash is plus 14 to hit and 10-foot reach and does 4d6 plus 7 acid damage. Any creature killed by this attack is considered sucked into Juiblex and totally obliterated after 60 seconds. Using 2 of his legendary actions, he can cause a corrupting touch attack, again plus 14 to hit and reach 10 foot, doing 4d6 plus 7 poison damage instead, and the target is slimed. Until the slime is scraped off as an action, the target is poisoned, and any creature other than an ooze is poisoned while within 10 feet of the target, so he just spreads poison corruption everywhere. His main attack, which recharges on a result of 5 or 6 on a 6-sided die rolled at each round, is to eject slime. Juiblex spews out a corrosive slime targeting one creature it can see within 60 feet of it. The target must make a DC 21 dexterity saving throw. On failure, the target takes 10d10 acid damage. Unless the target avoids taking any of this damage, any metal worn by the target takes a permanent -1 penalty to the armor class it offers, and any metal weapon it is carrying or wearing takes a permanent -1 penalty to damage rolls. The penalty worsens each time a target is subjected to this effect, so it's cumulative. If the penalty on an object drops to -5, the object is destroyed, so it can literally just strip the armor and weapons off you. During his own turn, he can make 3 acid lash attacks, or 2 and 1 eject slime attack. He will also be telepathically directing the many slimes, oozes, puddings, jellies around him during combat, as though they were extensions of his own loathsome body. Please hit like if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for some exclusive content, including some audiobooks that I'm reading to patrons, and all the full scripts for these videos. Buy some merchandise, wear your geek with pride, check out the link to D&D WoW dice sets down below. There's some really amazing metal dice for you, and a 10% discount for everybody who uses the code GlueStick. As always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.